Hello and welcome to GU Substance Use, Mistrust, and Misunderstanding. I'm your executive producer, Spencer Martin. For this show, I really wanted to take a look at how Gonzaga has grown, how is substance use and what's happening outside the classroom, how has that changed as well. In recent years, we're talking a lot about what the administration is doing, and before that just wasn't really the case. And I know for me, I was a Knight of Gonzaga, and my club got kicked off campus, and that hurt us a lot. But for everything that happens and every action the administration takes, there's always a reason why. I hope that for this show, the students can see what the administration is doing and why, and also the administration can see what the students are feeling and how we can better serve them. That being said, I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you for tuning in, and just always thank you for your support.
Hello and welcome to GU Substance Use, Mistrust, and Misunderstanding. I'm your host, Brianna Vasquez. Tonight we are going to take a look at the current state of substance use on our campus and bridge the gap between students and the administration. Our show will conclude with an exclusive interview featuring the VP of Student Development, Dr. Judi Biggs-Garbuio. You may not think that there is a substance use problem on our campus, but the numbers say otherwise. Gonzaga's Office of Community Standards, along with the Center of Care Personalis, collects data every year on student substance use. Last year, GU participated in the American College Health Association's National College Health Assessment. The dark blue represents GU, gray represents other religious universities, and the light blue shows the national average. The thought-provoking results have led GU leaders to prioritize tackling campus substance use. According to Paula Smith, the director of Office of Community Standards, students aren't necessarily drinking more, they are just changing the way they drink.
What the administration is seeing is a little bit of a shift in how students especially are consuming alcohol. We've seen a real rise in acute intoxications, so I mean those situations where individuals are either vomiting or they're passed out and they need to have some kind of emergency medical assessment. Those assessment numbers are up, and then also transport numbers are up.
When students are written up for substance use, they meet with Paula Smith and other members of the Office of Community Standards. GUTV's Sam Johnson talked to a few GU students to get their opinions on documentations and the school's approach to substance use.
The holidays are upon us once again in Spokane, Washington, and as Gonzaga students continue to collect knowledge, they are also accumulating probational write-ups. Campus housing, otherwise known as dormitories. Gonzaga students are meant to spend at least 2 years in dormitories like Kennedy. For most students, some of the memories that they create in these dorms are the best they have in their college experience. However, some academic failures can arise just from one simple sound. It is relatively easy to receive an alcohol infraction in the dorms. It also does not help that many freshmen do not have experience with alcohol and can sometimes go overboard with their consumption. But what happens when disciplinary measures goes far beyond reasonable punishment?
Hey RA, I heard cans!
I think that it's reasonable that like a first time underage possession or consumption of alcohol charge is a $50 fine, a warning, and it typically includes some sort of educational outcome as well. It's a warning, a reprimand, and conduct probation.
Are you on any type of probation or trouble with your school? So I was not able to go abroad whatsoever, and I don't know if I'll be able to go this summer or at all in my college career.
I changed a lot from freshman to sophomore year, but the way the conduct process works is it doesn't see that. So it sort of looked at me as a 5 write-up kid, as a problem, and I got put on probation.
When you're on conduct probation, you can enter into a program called Community Restoration in Action, where you can actually get off of probation with after 3 months. And so there's To answer your question, I think yes, because there's it is rare that we immediately jump to conduct probation. There's usually instances for folks to have that opportunity, and warning and reprimands are for a year.
It's just a fixed mindset. People change. People evolve, like people learn from their mistakes. I'm not even drinking in an immature way or so on and so forth, or I'm not drinking at all. But Gonzaga as school and their disciplinary system makes it impossible for you to not feel that anxiety.
My roommate was very intoxicated. He was out in the hallway stumbling around. He obviously needed help, so I went and got the RA, and he ended up calling the ambulance to come and help my roommate, but I ended up getting written up in the process, so we both got in trouble. He got in really big trouble because it wasn't his first write-up. He ended up actually getting suspended, and that was freshman year and his junior year now, and he hasn't come back.
In my experience, I've known several kids who got suspended from Gonzaga for drinking in college, which is so surprising. And what happened to them was no one's going to come back to school after they get suspended, and you sort of just have to say goodbye to some really close friends. I feel like Gonzaga kind of sends away some of its best without even realizing it.
Students often feel like campus security and public safety officers, along with resident assistants, don't always have their best interests in mind. We want to make sure that both sides understand each other and move towards being on the same page. Coming up next, we tagged along with some of our campus security officers to learn more about their work and efforts to keep students safe. You won't want to miss this. You're watching GUTV.
A moment in time under the influence of something can stay with a person for the duration of their life.
That was Scott Sider, Director of Campus Security, talking about how one decision can impact the rest of your life. As a student, it's easy to think of campus security as the bad guys. But we found out that campus security really cares about us as students and has our best interest in mind. We tagged along with the campus security to learn that what they do to keep us safe.
We do active patrols on campus. We do a lot of personal escorts for people to and from locations to keep them safe when they're traveling about. We also engage in a proactive approach out in the neighborhood as well for off-campus students in the immediate Logan neighborhood. Students that have been here for 2 years or 3 years definitely start to get a sense that we are more than just people driving around in marked cars and uniforms, right? They get a sense that we really are here as a resource for students. One thing we're not is we're not the police, right? And we don't want to be perceived as the police. By and large, we want to maintain that security relationship with our students. So anything that happens on campus that requires law enforcement response, we ask them to come. We try to have a good relationship with SPD, and we do, to address issues off campus and on campus, so that our neighbors that aren't GU affiliated don't feel like they're just kind of abandoned out there. So my message to students in relation to substance use is to be really careful. Number one, you need to protect yourself from becoming a crime victim. You have to maintain enough of yourself and your sense of well-being to care for yourself and those around you. You have an obligation to your friends also, not to place an undue burden on them for your safety, and they shouldn't put that burden on you for their safety or for your safety either. So I really think being proactive and sending that message that to use caution both as a potential victim and as a potential harm to your own self are really critical. And then finally, I think it's critical that a student preserve what it means to have a GU diploma. It takes decades to build a reputation of integrity and high standing, and it takes about 3 seconds to ruin that. So as we really do strive to become even a higher level of academic excellence here at the university, that the diplomas that we're earning today will be worth even more in decades to come. And I would encourage any student that has any question of us at all to stop us, wave us down, talk with us, get in the car with us. We'll give you a ride someplace and we can have a discussion. We're a service-oriented organization, and I can't stress enough how much we want to help students.
Campus security is available to all students 24/7. Their new headquarters are located at 503 East Sharp, and they encourage students to call them at 509-313-2222. The Office of Community Standards and the Center of Cura Personalis have been very helpful in providing us with data on GU substance use. Sarah Kelly has compiled all this data and is waiting live in the Opila Tweet Suite. Sarah, what do the numbers look like?
So before we take a look at these numbers from the American College Health Association's National College Health Assessment, let me explain what acute intoxication is, or better known as alcohol poisoning. So this is whenever college students drink too much in too short of time. I guess you could find this at any party scene, but let's look at the numbers. In 2014 to 15, there was 38 cases of this, and in 2015, there was 58 cases. Last year there was 75, and then this year we are on the run of hitting that same exact number. We have 34. Okay, next we're going to look at underage possession and consumption, and we don't have data for 2014 because they switched to a new system. But in 2015 there were 455 cases of underage consumption. In 2016 there were 435, but this year there is only 87. So we're improving ourselves. And then the next time, so for alcohol use, there's 13% of campus students that have not used alcohol ever. And then there's 9.5% that have used it, but not in the last 30 days. Here we have people who have used it in the last 1 to 9 days, a 60%. And then on to 10 to 29 days, there's 16%. And 0.8% have used it all 30 days. So here are the number of drinks that the typical college student has on their weekend. 4 or fewer is 49%, 5 drinks is 18%, 6 drinks is 10%, and 7 or more drinks, there's a whopping 22% of students. So now we have a little statistic on marijuana use on campus. There is 54% that have never used marijuana, 24% have used it in the last, but not in the last 30 days. And then 15 have used it in the last 9 days, 3.5 have used it in the last 10 to 29 days, and 1.9 have used it in the last 30 days. So coming up next, there's going to be one of Gonzaga's most valuable resources here on campus is the Center for Cura Personalis. Stick around, you're watching GUTV.
Welcome back to GU Substance Use, Mistrust, and Misunderstanding. I'm Brianna Vasquez. Do you feel like you or a friend may be substances like alcohol? GUTV's Karen Suzuki explored one of Gonzaga's most valuable resources, Cura Personalis.
Zags Help Zags, or I've gone on a Wednesday wellness walk with Dr. Biggs-Garbuio. We all have somewhat of an exposure to the Center for Cura Personalis, but the real question is, How much do we actually know about CCP and all the resources they provide, specifically for alcohol usage, and what their policies are? So I came here to CCP and talked to Jenna Parisi about all of their rules and regulations.
So my name is Jenna Parisi, and I'm the Assistant Director for Wellbeing and Prevention Education here in CCP. So career personalis is a Jesuit philosophy that means care for the whole person, so we try to approach students holistically. One of our missions is to really empower students to be their best selves and whatever that looks like for them. We've also broadened that to say, how do we create an environment that helps students to become their best selves? So we try to answer those sort of structural level questions about how the community can best support our students as they develop healthy coping strategies and ways to thrive while they're here at Gonzaga. We offer a group class that's called the Alcohol Skills Training Program, which is a way for students to come in, get some alcohol education, do some reflection, learn about harm reduction strategies, so if they are going to make the choice to drink, they may be able to do so in ways that are less risky and dangerous. We offer Basics, which is a one-on-one opportunity for a student to talk to a facilitator, again, sort of debrief their experiences, talk about what their behaviors are related to drinking and what their goals are moving forward, and try to put a plan in place that might be, more supportive for them in that journey.
Other resources include online resources such as Electronic Checkup to Go, which is a free survey to get a lot of great feedback about your own drinking behaviors. CCP also works closely with athletics, club teams, and the Kennel Board. So I talked to Senior Kennel Club Vice President Colin Calhoun about his experience with CCP.
They're not, especially Jenna, who I've worked with a little bit. She's not there to say, hey, you can't drink. They're really there to say, hey, if you're gonna make these decisions, which is your choice, then you should make them in the right, smart ways. So they're kind of there to direct you in that sense, and then also provide awareness of how to safely consume alcohol. But also on the separate side, they want to make sure that students have a place on this campus if they don't consume alcohol as well.
If you're seeking resources or have any questions, head over to the Center for Career Personalis because they are always willing to help, and Zags help Zags. Karen Suzuki, GUTV.
Jenna Parisi is actually a graduate of GU. She told me that her reasoning behind is for helping students navigate their college experience and making smart decisions when it comes to substance use. Through Twitter polls, we gave students the opportunity to voice their thoughts in our conversation. It's now time to toss it back to Sarah Kelly in the Tweet Suite. What are the students saying, Sarah?
So what better way to hear what the college students are saying than running a Twitter poll? Here we asked if they feel like they're receiving the full college experience, and we had 61% reply in and say yes, they do think they're receiving the full college experience, and roughly 40% not really sure on if they have received it or not. But we had a few tweet-ins that told us their opinions on this. We had Carson say that it seems like people in the administration have done more to take away from the full college experience than to enhance it. We also had Danny reply in saying, I think it depends on what the full college experience means to you. And a reply to Danny's tweet, we had Corinne say, that's true because as a transfer, I didn't live in the dorms or go to school with all of my classmates for 4 years, but I would still vote yes. I agree with Corinne because I am a transfer as well, and I do feel like I've received the full college experience even though I haven't lived in the dorms. So that's what the students are saying. Back to you, Bree.
Thank you, Sarah. It's interesting to see how students feel about GU outside of the classroom and feel about our administration's involvement. Coming up next, I have the wonderful opportunity to sit with our VP of Student Development, Dr. Judi Biggs-Garbuio. We will talk about her involvement with student substance use and hear about her mission for GU students. You won't want to miss it. You're watching GUTV.
Hey, I like your smile. Great job. Keep up the good work.
Hey, your shirt looks really good on you.
And this here is the kindest girl on Gonzaga's campus. You're the best. I love GU.
Go Zags! Go Zags! Go Zags! Go Zags!
Go Zags!
Go Zags!
Go Zags!
Go Zags!
Until next time, I'm Greg Talbot. Go Zags!
Go Zags! Go Zags!
Welcome back to GU Substance Use, Mistrust, and Misunderstanding. Sitting with me today is the VP of Student Development, Dr. Judi Biggs-Garbuio. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
So you are a very busy woman. You have a lot of priorities here on campus, and I was just curious, what made you want to come and be on our show today?
I think the topic is important, and I'm really excited that you all took this on as a topic to provide all the variety of resources and services that we provide. But I think it's also important to hear what some of the students' experiences have actually been.
And then, so we have something in common. We are huge fans of the USC Trojans.
Yes.
Great win this weekend.
Yes, it was. Thank goodness.
Yes. So you were there for 23 years and then followed by ASU. So I was, of course, brought to Gonzaga for a reason, but what drew you to come here?
The main reason why I wanted to come to Gonzaga, and the role that I have, I wanted to make sure I was at a smaller institution so that I could get to know students on a more personal level. So that was one reason. Also, I was attracted for the Jesuit Catholic humanistic mission, and especially the role that the mission plays in the university. And finally, having the opportunity to work with President McCullough, who came up from the student development area. He understands and appreciates and values the work that we do outside the classroom.
Yes, that's very important. And then, so we've met before, and in meetings you've talked about how you know about students' comments and concerns. How do you address those with your role?
That's something that one of the reasons why I established the Wednesday Wellness Walks was to provide an opportunity, a casual environment for students to come and present some of their concerns. And what I found over the last couple of years is the students that are more likely to come to those are the ones that are struggling to find their sense of belonging. But consistently what I've heard is part of the reason why they haven't found that connection is because they've chosen not to drink. And how can they still have the full college experience when it appears as if a lot of their roommates or other students really do want to have that as a part of their college experience?
Okay, and then in addition to that, we've talked about this as well, the people confusion with Good Samaritan policy. Do you want to touch on what we have here at Gonzaga?
Sure. Thank you for bringing this question
up. Yes, of
course. We do not have a Good Samaritan policy, and part of that, when I was listening to students at different times, they would ask why we wouldn't have it. And they said that they had experiences where they got in trouble when they called. And I know that there was somebody that was on this show that was their experience. I asked Paula Smith from Community Standards to run some statistics and some data because I was under the understanding if you do call that you might get written up and called in, but it's only to provide context for what happened. So we really, the Zags Help Zags, we really do want students to call, and very rarely do they get in significant trouble if they do make the call. That very rarely in the statistics that Paula ran for me.
And then with steering students away from making those maybe not responsible choices, what do we offer, like Spike Nights?
Sure. Yeah, Spike Nights, as soon as the Hemmingson was open, we had space in order to provide Spike Nights. And we've had over 700 students attend that on both Friday and Saturday nights. It's an alternative to going out into the Logan neighborhood. So students can do salsa, dancing, watch movies. Student organizations actually put on some of the events. We actually have a team of students that plan Spike Nights. So this way it's students putting on programs for students to keep them safe and to provide an alternative for those students that, for whatever reason, don't want to drink alcohol.
Okay, well, that's amazing. So we're going to wrap up this part and then we'll be back. So we're going to go on a short break, but when we come back, you tweeted in your questions and Dr. Biggs-Garbuio is going to answer them. You don't want to miss it. Coming up next on GUTV.
So, as a college student, I can't really have a pet of my own. But I want to do something to help out these, really neglected animals. We can't help all of these animals, but every little effort goes a long way. Because, quite honestly, every animal deserves at least one happy day.
Welcome back to the show. We asked you to tweet in your questions with the hashtag AskJBG. And now Dr. Biggs-Garbuio is going to have a chance to answer. Our first question comes from Brian Ward. He says, especially considering the bevy of alcohol-related decisions, nights, beginning bowling, tent city, etc., under your belt, what do you consider your role and responsibility in shaping or regulating student social life, both on and off campus?
Well, I can take responsibility for 2 out of those 3
okay.
issues. So the Knights decision in Tent City, I want to make sure I have the question right. Shaping and regulating social life both on and off campus. I'll start with Tent City.
Okay.
So with Tent City, what happened was, it was during my first year, and there were students that were actually doing shots on the front steps of Foley Library, and I was away doing Zagnation in Denver.
Okay.
And when I found out that this had happened, I thought, first and foremost, we're an academic institution, and so the fact that they were doing shots in such a public, in front of our library, and I felt as if we could still have fun, or the students could still have fun and keep with Tent City.
Yes.
So Kennel Board, I gave them the challenge, and because originally the decision was no more Tent City, and I had been communicating that to them, but they came back with a proposal about putting in the fencing and some of the other strategies, and I said, let's give it a try, and it seems to be working well. So we still have Tent City. It might not be the wild parties like it used to be, but it still gets at the community and the opportunity for students to get excited about Zagnation and Zag basketball.
And that's all. That's the main part of it. And it's exciting, getting ready for the games. I know we're going to be doing that for the Creighton game.
Exactly, coming up. Yes.
And so
already have the date scheduled for this coming year.
What's your favorite part about Tent City?
It's the excitement. I mean, they have that much enthusiasm for the basketball team that they will stay out really late they'll stay up all night, but in the cold. And that's one of the other things. Ultimately, we want to keep our students safe. And so part of the reason for that is we have 25% of our students are coming from California now, and so we do have a restriction where if it gets to a certain degree level, we will ask the students to go and warm up in their residence hall room or wherever they're living and come back.
Okay.
I cannot tell you how many parents have sent me emails thanking me for making that decision because they knew that their son or daughter would never leave their tent.
I can totally relate to that because I'm from California.
Oh, yeah.
But that's all the time we're going to have today.
Oh,
Thank you so much for coming today.
You're welcome.
That's all the time we have. Thank you to everyone who submitted tweets, and thank you, Dr. Biggs-Garbuio, for joining me today. You're watching GUTV.